We're watching Robert versus Caleb. So did you see it before when he played, Jarvis?
I did. It was not the
Yeah.
best showing for Robert's deck, but I think this matchup should be a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Namely, there's not as many creatures in Caleb's deck to take advantage of a clunky start, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I'll definitely agree.
This will be more of a true, like, sort of draw-go-esque mirror, I think.
Yeah.
I think
So
you have to sort of create an opening to play one of your big haymaker planeswalkers.
yeah. And I think Liliana is gonna be insane in this matchup. Whereas it wasn't the greatest card in the last matchup, but I think against Caleb, if it resolves, he's in trouble.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Liliana was very good versus the full power Miracles deck. I don't see why V really. Oh, the difference is 4 Snapcasters, I suppose, and 2 Vendilion Quick. I still think it's quite a good card.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see that. So this is Caleb's list, almost miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I've heard, he's been testing like the entire week, or at least a couple of days, playing the Soothsayer, and this is the list that he came up with in the end. I like the list. Like, I wouldn't play it. I don't like playing blue cards, and people. Yeah, I don't know.
Cards.
No, but I like the white cards in the deck though. So I'm also looking forward to see how this plays out. He has like one Blood Moon main, one Engineered main, one Entreat main. Like there's a lot of sweet toolboxes for him to play around. Yeah, and I'm just really happy that it's not Reanimator as you were playing last week against some other broken deck. So it looks like we're off.
These hands, actually, Caleb's hand is on the weaker side for this matchup, I think. But in such an attrition-based matchup, you want to avoid mulliganing if possible, I think.
Yeah, and also he has 3 lands, which is you don't want to mulligan and end up with 2 lands when you pretty much want to play lands like for every single turn. So I think him having 2 lands and a Spell Pierce is definitely or 3 lands and a Spell Pierce is definitely what keeps this as a non-mulligan hand. On the other hand, on Robert's hand is pretty good. I think he's just gonna fire off the Baleful.
He is going to play Strix, yeah. I was wondering if he was supposed to save the fetch land for a Brainstorm, but my guess is the game's going to go on so long that he'll inevitably draw another fetch.
Yeah.
And he does know about the main deck Blood Moons from Caleb. I think that's the worry.
Yeah, so he's just firing off so he can get the blue straight away. It seems like a good idea. Oh, just need to. So now he got a Force of Will, which is also pretty good. So there is a dance now that he's gonna play this additional Baleful Strix. So not that it's not like complete pressure as of now, but it will eventually like grind, give away some damage and pressure Caleb. So I think Caleb needs to do something now. Either it's like end of turn Brainstorm, which is it doesn't happen that often, but I think he needs to get away some of his bad cards or put Terminus on top.
I think you'll see both Terminuses go on top.
Yeah, yeah, that was the second Terminus there.
Yeah.
So now he's trying to regain some of the lost value from Robert drawing cards from Baleful Strix. Really trying to to play these strong miracle cards.
Yeah, he really is trying his best. The problem is, I think the white cards are just sort of bad in the matchup, I think.
Yeah. So he plays the Polluted Delta here because he wants to be able to shuffle away the Terminus. But I think I actually would have played the Tundra because I think if I was Caleb, I would want to maybe shuffle away some cards with the Snapcaster and the Brainstorm. So you really need the shuffle fix later. But it seems like he's gonna just spell Pierce here and hope for the best. Would you force a will here, Jarvis?
No, my stance on forcing is generally not to force anything unless it's actually going to kill me.
Okay.
And
well, it seems like you and Robert are in the same boat.
I think Robert also understands. Ooh, there's the Blood Moon. That's kind of interesting. I think that might be one card you actually have to force a will.
Yeah.
I was about to say the thing about, the Caleb is planning to just not cast Blood Moon.
I don't know.
Not.
No, I think I would have just tried to jam it, like, because it's pretty much game over if it resolves. But he maybe thinks that he must have like a force of will because he haven't really done anything. And if both have an understanding of what the matchup is about, and he would let like the Liliana bin, then yeah, I think it's nice to not just jam the Blood Moon in before you have some counter backup.
I think Robert just realizes that he really doesn't want to cast Force because the loss of cards is so valuable.
Yeah.
And you can actually wait until you get to 5 mana in this match to start hard casting your forces. Yep. Just traumatic visions.
Yeah. And this was also what I tried to point out, like with Caleb's opening hand. You said that the hand was like on the weaker spot, so a reason for him to like keep the hand is that you just need to make these land drops.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to hardcast Force to be able to like Painful Truth and still pay for Spell Pierce and play Jace and still be able to like kill an opponent's creature or cast a spell. It's just lands are just so important in control mirrors.
Yeah, although Honorok had an interesting point about that earlier. Yeah. It's only relevant if you're trying to set up a turn where you're overloading their counter magic.
Yeah.
If your deck is designed to operate on a really low land count, it might not be as relevant.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Okay, so that's actually a pretty good brainstorm, I think. Yeah. We're going to end up shuffling the Terminus away, I suppose.
So you think he's gonna play Ponder here?
Yeah. I might even be tempted to Ponder Snapcaster Ponder.
Yeah, but I can see that when he can't play like the Force of Will. So yeah, he ponders. So see if he finds something a fetch land. I think a fetch land here for Caleb would be pretty good.
Yeah, actually, if you hit a fetch, I'm less inclined to actually Snapcaster Ponder.
Yeah.
But he may just leave up Counterspell. Because if you look at the narrative of this game, our opponent has consistently been very patient. It's very likely that they're going or something.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Robert actually resolving brainstorms. In contrary to when he played before against Leovold.
Oh yeah, Leovold is a ridiculous card.
Yeah, it really hurts. Like, it hurts all the way through my soul seeing him like ending the game with 3 brainstorms in hand.
Yeah.
So again, Baleful Strix does what it's best at, and just like prolonging the game, drawing cards, being the best blocker. It's just a good card in these matchups.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that Robert is so patient with his Painful Truth. He's really just sitting on his good cards, even though he could cast them. So he's really He's respecting the counter spells in Caleb's hand.
Yeah, I think he just realizes he is trying to avoid a situation where he actually has to force alternate casting costs.
Yeah. Let's see if you see brainstorming end of turn.
We have seen EOT brainstorm from both of these guys just to try to put a Snapcaster in play, and I think that's actually very defensible.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing about these. Like a lot of players, like write articles about how to play brainstorm, but brainstorm is just such a intuitive card. It's just so hard to play, and it's very skill intensive. So you can say that you should never brainstorm end of turn if you don't have a shuffle effect, but it only goes for X amount of games, and then you actually have to do it. And I think both of them, as you say, did it. I would have done the same thing if I were in their shoes here.
Mm-hmm. Brainstorming into that wasteland is actually a pretty big deal. Because if you notice, Caleb is actually stuck on 4. And once we wasteland Caleb, it's going to make it really hard for him to make any sort of forward progress, I think.
Yeah.
And actually, obviously, Robert doesn't know Caleb's hand, but if you waste him, he can no longer Snapcaster Spell Pierce.
Yeah. If he wants to resolve a card like Jace.
Yeah.
But I think Caleb plays like 4 counter spells, and I'm pretty sure that Robert knows this. So then he has to throw away his Force of Will. So he's actually going for Painful Truth here to see if he can bait the counter spell. Mm-hmm. And he's probably just going to let it resolve or brainstorm in response.
Based on the way Robert's been playing this game, I would not be surprised if he just let it go.
Yeah. I think this is just a classic bait for Jace resolving next turn.
Yeah. Huh.
Oh, he's actually fighting over it.
I mean,
maybe
fitting 2 cards in for 3 other cards.
Yeah. Well, I like it because the chance that you get like a blue card is pretty high, and then you can resolve Jace anyways, and like have just a throwaway force. If Caleb plays a Haymaker, you can still force it, and you can get discard spells. So I like doing 2 for 1 here.
The issue is the Painful Truths was not the best one for Robert. He did not actually find another blue card, and he knew the Battlelands was on top, so he was going to redraw that.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, it's still a defensible play that Robert made, I think. Caleb does not draw a land. I think if Caleb drew a land there, he would slam his Jace based on that sequence of plays.
Yeah. So let's see, he gets the land here. But now he's actually somewhat like locked. He's locked for the next 2 turns.
Again, he could Snapcaster Ponder. I don't know if you actually want to do that. My inclination is I probably wouldn't, because it's more valuable to keep Snapcaster to pitch the
Spell
Force.
Pierce. Yeah. Or to a Spell Pierce if you can get in
a
situation. No, he's just gonna Snapcaster Ponder.
Huh.
I think it's because he thinks that he's a bit more behind after Robert drew cards and the way that he played. It seems like he has more resources in his hand, and as we can see, he does. So I just think the killer wants to like set up the next turn for Jace as best as possible. Yeah, and this is the best use he will get from Snapcaster.
So Caleb wants to find another blue card, preferably something he doesn't really care about pitching to Force.
Yep. And he just really wants to get rid of the Terminus because it's somewhat of a blank card. And the Blood Moon has been like an active mulligan in this.
Caleb said he sort of regrets playing that Blood Moon, I think, in general.
Yeah. So let's see. Would you just jam the Jace here, or would you try to start attacking with the creeping turret?
It's interesting. I would be inclined to just jam Jace by this point, but I wouldn't fault him for not doing it.
And he's doing it, Jarvis, or at least it looks
seems like he's doing it for now. He can always reconsider until the 4th mana is tapped.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the good thing about the new how the interface works now on Magic Online. Before, when you tap mana and pressed like a card that cycles, it didn't ask you which mana, so it just instantly cycled if you accidentally. But now you have to actually press which mana is the mana that you're using. So now he's forcing and really setting up a good Jace on his own.
So what I foresee happening is Caleb's going to actually +2 the Jace because of Creeping Carpet, but then Bolt plus Carpet activation is going to take it down anyways.
Yep, I think that's what's going on as well. So if he draws like a Sword of Plowshares here, it will be pretty good. But he didn't. So Caleb is actually in the game for now. At least he
must be plussing on himself with the opposing fetch land out.
Yeah. Yeah, but I also think that he has the Terminus on top, right? Or did he shuffle it away?
I think he probably shuffled it with the Snap Ponder, right?
Yeah, it was just he put up Terminus and Council's Judgment, so it's just fun that he drew the Council's Judgment.
Deluge. Also a dead draw.
Good old Deluge.
So if you're slightly greedier, actually, it's the same either way. You can bolt Snapcaster instead of bolting him. I think you are supposed to bolt the Snapcaster.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just there's just an upside here.
Yep.
If he does it. Come on, Robert, do it. He's thinking, should I? Should I not? Good job, Robert.
Yep, and the 2 creatures take down the Jace, and suddenly Robert looks like he's in a pretty commanding lead.
Yeah. The thing is...
Oh, okay. Another second. Another Council's Judgment. Not really what you want here. Ooh. That's probably going to lock it up if I had to imagine.
That's unfortunate for Caleb if he was looking at what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So probably just play the Badlands and attack for 2 and then say go.
Yep.
That's what I would do.
He could also forcible on any relevant card.
Yeah.
Though it's 7 mana counter target spell.
But he could also, if he doesn't play he played the Badlands here so that he can force Snap Force. If he doesn't play the Badlands, it's because he thinks, no, he would always play the Badland because he doesn't have Brainstorm in his graveyard.
Yeah, and I think at some point it's conceivable he could Snapcaster Painful Truths, and you want your lands in play if you're going to do that.
Yeah, agree. So he's in a commanding lead. And there's a Force of Will. That's one of the most unfortunate draws that you can draw at this stage of the game. 4 mana, no blue cards. It's not a good card.
I wonder what would have happened this game if Caleb had ended up playing the Blood Moon. It's kind of hard to tell, but
yeah. So he's just gonna fire off a Lightning Bolt here, I think.
How much damage is that? That puts him to 10, attack for 7 with the target. Yeah, I think it's pretty reasonable.
Yep. I don't think he's going to attack with the tar pit at first, though. I think he's just going to attack for 4, make him go down to 6, and then keep Force of Will open.
Yeah.
Then force pretty much whatever happens and then go for the kill. But he draw like a brainstorm now, so he's probably gonna fire that on off before. No,
No,
he actually is gonna activate the.
I think once he drew the blue card, it's safe to attack.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that actually blows you out is Terminus. Counterspell. One of the worst draws in attack.
Yeah. So.
It's unfair has a very good point. If this Blood Moon was a Sensei Spawning top, this game probably wouldn't be very close.
Yeah, that's true.
I would agree, it would not be close.
Let's see. Caleb actually has a pretty good sideboard. Like when you play these Jeskai colors, you tend to get some pretty versatile sideboards, but also Robert. Like when I first saw his list, I felt like this is not a deck that I would be playing, and like it seemed like kind of a Jund Grixis from Modern that's just with somewhat better cards, but
yeah, it really does. Actually, I think it's a little bit underpowered. Maybe a little bit. I mean, I understand the attraction of it. Jace is really good, so is Liliana, but it just seems without Deathrite, you're forced to try to curve out every game, which seems difficult.
Yeah.
And we saw him play against a deck that had Deathrite, and it looked like a slaughter.
Yeah, but I think Leovold was also pretty.
Oh yeah, Leovold is just bananas if it arrives.
Yeah. But I think, like seeing it play out against this grindy deck, I actually liked it here. It was quite the opposite, as you're like telling us with against the Deathrite. It has a hard time, but I also think that he's trying to like make up for that with X amount of lightning bolts and fatal pushes.
Yeah, he actually has 7 or 8 one-man rule spells. So theoretically, the Deathrites shouldn't have done him in. But if they stick, obviously the advantage is huge.
Yeah. So it seems like this is more like, it's just really playing into the Snapcaster mages that they are good in all stages of the game. But
so I was kind of wondering if Robert would bring in one engineered plague to Monk for the one monastery mentor.
Yeah.
That's some classic vintage level stuff right there.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna play Vintage tomorrow, and no, not tomorrow, on Saturday, and I'm gonna play Book, and I think I'm gonna have like 1 or 2 engineered plagues in the sideboard.
Oh, Bug or Book?
Green, blue, black. So
okay.
I'm just saying it in a weird way. So we have both hands, and again, Caleb has a hand that he probably cannot mulligan, and Robert has a good hand.
Caleb's hand actually very weak to Wasteland.
Yeah.
Because he drew Arid Mesa, which means he has to fetch for Tundra to cast Plunder.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. And it is super unfortunate in Caleb's deck because he has so many basics.
But that finds a bunch of lands and a Brainstorm, so we just immediately keep him.
Yeah.
The Nightmare scenario is avoided.
It sure is. Let's see. Yeah. Not going to main phase Brainstorm. And it's just go from both players. And then he's just going to jam the Strix.
Ooh, again, the painful truths has arrived.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite cards from, is it Balfour Zendikar? It is Balfour Zendikar, right? It has Converge.
Yeah.
I played that in the Mardu sideboard for that GP top 8.
Okay.
I never got to cast it, but it would have been good in simple matchups. Because drawing 3 for 3 when you're the aggressor is actually quite good.
Yeah. I have also played it in Modern and Standard. I think the card is great as well.
I've actually cast it against Athalia for 4 as well. Have you done that?
No, but I have seen the interaction with Sunburst as well, so it is
Yeah.
it is pretty sweet.
Most commonly with engineering explosives versus Thalia, you name X equals 1 and pay 2.
Yeah. So you can do the same here with Converge and draw additional cards.
Yep. All right,
So
some classic draw go from both sides.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to favor Robert because he has the 1/1.
And he doesn't have 2 Council's Judgments in his hand.
That card is. So if you're Caleb, do you brainstorm?
No, I'll just jam Jace. You have double protection, so I'll just go for it. But he just does go.
Interestingly, I think if Caleb had gone for that, he would have gotten blown out so hard by Flusterstorm. So that's good intuition from Caleb to not go for it there. But that's a brutal wasteland.
Yeah, his hand is just Caleb's hand is just so bad.
Yeah, smartly, I think Robert had the wasteland the entire time, but he just sandbagged it forever.
Yep. But
once Caleb missed his 5th land drop, then he pulled the trigger on the wasteland.
Yeah.
Which is also a very good play.
Yeah, I think Robert definitely knows what he's doing, and Caleb is as well. But it's really nice. We saw it last week as well. The players really know what the matchup is about, or they are at least agreeing on the matchup, even though they haven't talked. So it's always nice to see people kind of in sync of what is going on in well-played competitive Magic. Because it's hard to decipher what the right play is and what the almost right play is, at least. So here they're fighting over a brainstorm.
Well, I think Robert wants to see how bad how good his brainstorm is before countering.
Yeah, I really like it.
Good idea.
But he also knows that Caleb, this is a desperation brainstorm because he haven't really done anything and he's running out of resources, and Robert is really just advancing his board. So do you think he's gonna counterspell it here?
If I were Robert, I probably would Pyroblast.
Yeah, Pyroblast. Yeah, he has a Pyroblast.
It only costs 1 mana, so you're not really threatened by anything.
And
so
he's going to Flusterstorm.
Flusterstorm. Then we're going to see a Flusterstorm on Flusterstorm, which is really painful on Magic Online because you have to select each of the copies to go to another copy.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Robert actually just burned his Flusterstorm instead. I think that's fine as well.
Yeah. I think he really wants to counter the Jace. Yep. If Caleb gets to resolve it next turn, because I think Robert, if I was in Robert's shoes, I would start thinking, how can I lose this game? And it's actually only if he plays like a monk and goes crazy, or if he plays like a Jace the Mind Sculptor and goes crazy.
Yeah. We have 2 painful truths in our hands, so if we drag out the game long enough, we should be fine.
Yeah. This hand is just it's an artwork. It's a Picasso.
Yeah. Once Robert used enough cards from his hands, then I'll start casting the painful truths.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is exactly the situation Waffle Taco would want to be in.
Yeah, he would just have a flashback card.
Think twice.
Yeah. Just to generate even more value. Yep. So now he's gonna Flusterstorm here.
These Council's Judgments have just been really not what Caleb has been searching for. I think he needs them because of how many Planeswalkers Robert has, but drawing is just really, really not very good.
I agree. Do you think he's gonna Force a Will here? I could see him Force a Will and throwing away Brainstorm. He didn't.
That's what I want. Ooh, Caleb's Brainstorm walked
Yeah.
That
So
bosses it. I mean, the one good thing Caleb has going is that he has double force.
yeah, and he can Snapcast or Brainstorm next turn.
Yep.
And now drawing additional cards. I
Wow,
love the art.
just like
I really
Caleb
love the artwork of the old counterspell.
yeah, it's quite good.
Let's see.
And nope.
No,
So actually, Robert's gonna have to discard 2 cards.
he's gonna put 2 cards back, right? Yeah, and then he has to discard. You're correct.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna put back Toxic Deluge and discard the Toxic Deluge.
That makes sense. Because you can keep one in case if you need it for later.
Yeah. So even though Robert is ahead because of the land drops, he's kind of in a pickle here.
Yeah, he sort of cast Compulsive Research and didn't draw any lands.
Yeah. For those of you who have played Compulsive Research before.
I've played so many of them in my life, especially in Cube.
So Compulsive Research draws 3 cards, and then you can discard a land or 2 cards. So that is pretty much what. But he also got damage here, or took damage. So
yeah,
it's the worst possible outcome of a Compulsive Research. So, and now he's gonna. Do you think he's gonna ponder or brainstorm? Probably.
In these scenarios, I generally ponder because the downside of brainstorm locking yourself is so bad.
He is also pondering.
And Caleb knows that too. Like, if you get brainstorm locked, it's just a horrible situation. I think I'm Caleb. I leave those. It's unfortunate one of them's not a red source.
Yeah.
But I think the mana is relevant.
I think it's very important, especially when you have like a Snapcaster and a Jace in your hand.
Yeah, it's just so greedy to shuffle those lands away. I was about to say the one thing that tapping out did for Caleb was give him the green light to cast his spell.
Yep. But now Robert has a counterspell.
2 counterspells, the Power Blast.
So I think he's just gonna fire it off at almost whatever Caleb is trying to resolve. So if he's going for Jace, he's 100% gonna counterspell it, and Snapcaster Brainstorm, he's also just gonna throw it away. Let's see if Caleb is patient here. And block. Actually, if he plays Jace, I think it's more correct to just play Pyroblast, so you don't get in a weird situation where Pyroblast is blanked later on.
That makes sense. So if you're Robert, do you discard again? He discarded last turn, showing.
Yeah, I think you just throw away the Painful Truth here.
Yeah, don't think you need more cards to win this game. And even if you do, at some point you can just Snapcaster the Painful Truths.
Yeah. But I think if I'm in Robert's shoes, I would probably say go here, discard the Painful Truth. Then whatever Caleb does, counter it. And if he doesn't do anything, end of turn, Snapcaster Brainstorm. Because then you apply pressure, you get like good use of your mana without like putting yourself in a tough spot. Yeah, so he discarded the Painful Truth. He was considering about the Jace because it will be really hard to resolve. Let's see if he plays the Snapcaster here.
Yeah, he's going with the exact plan you described. And really, it's just putting a 2/1 flash on the board is actually pretty relevant, considering it's at 13.
So even though if he wouldn't have had Brainstorm in his graveyard, he could have played this card just to apply some pressure.
Meanwhile, Caleb's looking at this Power Blast and he's like, Man.
Yeah.
All right. This is going to be a really good exchange for Robert,
Yeah.
I think.
He's really getting good use of his 4 mana. I think this
Caleb
is
wants it worse, then Robert almost certainly will just slam Jace next turn.
yeah. I think if Caleb forces here, if I was in Robert's shoes, I would force back.
Do you pitch?
Then I would just pitch a I would pitch a counterspell, I think, because then you resolve Jace next turn and you have a force backup.
Mhm.
It's a bad play if Caleb draws a red source.
I mean,
Yeah.
the worst case.
Actually, maybe you just resolve it actually, because it's whatever.
Like, do we care that much about the Snapcaster? Probably not, right?
No. So if he tries to force it here, then maybe just he's really afraid of it.
Oh wow. Caleb just pitched his Jace, assuming there would be no safe spot to resolve it.
Yeah, I think I would just like say, okay, it's fine, because then you have double protection for your own Jace.
It's going to be really hard for Robert to lose from here. And I think you just brainstorm.
Yep. So does Robert. I really like how patient Robert has played this game, and like I think even though we're sitting here like discussing back and forth, I think he has come to the conclusions of what is the correct play, at least of what we see as the correct play, really fast.
Mm-hmm. And he has to deduce the play instead of just we get to see all the information. He doesn't have it.
Yeah, I think he has maneuvered quite nicely. Also, Caleb has helped him a bit with not drawing like that much gas, but I think the interaction that we have seen, Robert has really played to his outs. I think this is just
wow, you just let the Jace die?
Okay.
That might be overly conservative, I think.
Yeah, but again, like you have the Baleful Strix, you have Pyroblast, you have infinite counterspells. So not fighting over these random things, Jace already generated value. So that must be his mindset that just if you do a 2-for-1, it's just good because you're gonna win in turn 100.
Yep. Lord of the Pit. Caleb has really been unlucky not to draw top.
Yeah.
He sure has. These Strixes are going to go the way unless Caleb draws a red source.
Yeah, but even if he draws a red source, it's just. I even think he's gonna.
Staticaster, actually? Probably not.
I don't know. I think he's gonna activate his Creeping Tar Pit and just see if he can finish the game in 2 turns.
Yeah, that makes sense as well.
And then he's gonna keep up Counterspell and Pyroblast. Caleb is probably gonna play Snapcaster. Then he's gonna get a Pyroblast, and then we have double Counterspell or whatever. Yeah, I think Robert wants to like, and that's why he didn't want to fight for the Jace before, because he just knew like it's a 2-turn clock. So let's try and protect our 2-turn clock as much as possible.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, but it seems like we could have just had another angle of attack if we had.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what he's getting at. I think that just might be pushing the philosophy to an extreme that you don't necessarily need to. But that is definitely his thought process, that he has checkmate in 2, so he doesn't want to fight over Jace.
Yeah, and even checkmate in 2 with 3 backup spells.
All right, so now we have to go for the Desperation, Council's Judgment on Baleful Strix.
the 100% opposite of a value play.
Yeah.
So let's see. Yeah, it's gonna counter it.
So, do you force the Spell Pierce?
I don't want to say either yes or no, but I think you let it resolve as you did here, because
Yeah. There is a K command in the graveyard that could be lethal next turn if we attack with both of our guys. So
Yeah, but I actually think here that you're gonna activate the Creeping Target because then Caleb cannot draw like a fetch land if he should like have red cards in his hand.
yeah,
So now he's at 1. So he dies to Baleful Strix, he dies to Colligam's Command, and he dies to the Creeping Target. So now Caleb has to deal with 3 cards if he would think that.
as we know, Caleb's hand just, I think it's so improbable that he could do that. It would have to be like, oh, it's not that.
This main facing the Vindilant Lake. So I think he should probably like counterspell this one. Yep, and then it's game. He's probably gonna counterspell the other way around, Caleb, just to kill himself.
Yeah, Caleb wants to go out on his terms.
Yeah.
That's actually, fairly well played by Robert.
Yeah, I was impressed. Like, it wasn't really a game in game 1 against Leovold, but I really think he played well here, and I understand why he picked that deck if he thought about those matchups, like if he thought that he was gonna play against those matchups a lot. So Jarvis, I need to go to bed. It has been a pleasure to. Yeah, it's like super late. It's 2:30.
Yeah, I'll see you at Grand Prix Richmond, I suppose, right?
No, I'm going to Boulogne. So, but for PC National, subtle break. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching in, and I hope you enjoy the next matches. And tune in next week for me playing Mono White. So see you guys.
See ya.